Balakun, a bridge to Ukraine. Join the conversation at balakun.co.
Балакун – міст в Україну. Долучайтесь до наших розмов на www.balakun.co.
Please subscribe!
Should we talk about the ethnocide and all the horrible pages?
Yes, I think we can. But before we speak about deportation, yes, I want to explain also period civil war in Russia, because it had very serious consequences for Crimean Tatars also. Because a lot of Crimean Tatars intelligence were captured in this period of time, and because they were clever, they were talented. Yes, for this period of time, it didn't matter who are you. Yes, and it just how 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 talented are you, etc. It just it was also very heartful page in our history, because as I told you, we were in minority, and when I can't say the current amount, it's some like 32 people were captured. It was all intelligence, I mean teachers, musicians, writers, artists, and they were captured, they were killed by different ways. And it also tragedy for us, because for small nation like Crimean Tatars to kill whole intelligence, it's like, I even can explain, I even can find the word that can show this feeling, because we know, yes, intelligence, what is the main purpose of intelligence for nation, for every nation, doesn't matter Crimean Tatar or else. This process also were in Ukraine, yes, and we know also a lot of stories about people, and this period of time was also very difficult.
There's a word that was made by Ukrainian writer Oksana Zabushko that is I like this word actually, and I repeat it once more and more, talking on this topic. And this word is eliticide, like demolition of elites.
Yeah, maybe yes, because for example, even before deportation in 1944, we had a lot of deportations, and from Crimea also. For example, my great grandfather, he was deported to Siberia with his family. My granddad was 3 years old, and they deported. So he was in prison during maybe 3 years, and then he worked in the camps in Siberia. I mean, even before the war, yes, it was 1926, 1927. It because of when Bolsheviks came to Crimea, yes, and this process also were, and it's also very hurtful. In this period of time, also a lot of people died, and we lost big amounts of talented and hardworking people. Even without these skills, yes, it's just life. It's also very important.
Is there a sense of the numbers? How many people were deported in that period of time?
It is difficult to answer because, as I told you before, all information are archivated, yes, in Moscow usually, and it's difficult to find. You can find names, yes, or places where uh, people were deported, but the amount of these people, it's very difficult. Even we have some numbers, I'm not sure that they are true.
Yeah.
But if we say about deportation in 1944, I think it's the most painful and hurtful page in our history because we have like some amount of people, like maybe more than 2,100 people. It's were deported to Central Asia and Siberia. Um, and it's in the morning of May 18. It was a date to start of the operation deportation of people and a cost of collaboration with the German invaders to Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, and Siberia. And why I say that it's the most painful because deportation, it was like one of the policy of Soviet Union country, because when I studied this question, how people were deported, whole people in Soviet Union country were deported, whole nations. Maybe not, I mean, it was like, um, it was way how to um, move people from one part of the country to another part, yes, and it helped them to mix all of these nations, yes, and I don't know, maybe it helped them to.
To try to remove cultures.
Yes, yes, and these people then try to survive, and they lost their identity in this process, because you don't think when you have to survive, you don't think about your culture, yes, about music, etc. You have to find food and how to save your children, your family, etc. But if we say about deportation of Crimean Tatars, for example, from Crimea, were deported many nations and Greeks and Germans. And if we say about Greeks, so if you know Greeks who were deported from Crimea, they were deported to Mariupol. And these Greeks who deported from Crimea, they um, the first citizens, yes, who founded Mariupol. And but as I told you before, if we say, for example, about I don't know Romans, yeah, they can go to the Rome after deportation. If we say about Germany, can go to the German. If we speak about Crimean Tatars, we couldn't go anywhere because we were deported from our motherland. We have just one piece of land in this world. It's our house. It's place where we were created, and that's why for us it's really very painful. And a lot of people died because uh, they were um, they were they were in the trains. Yes, it's these trains. That these trains were without any water, without food, without any sanitary consequences, and that's why a lot of people died in this period of time. They this journey was like maybe 1 month, and during this 1 month, a lot of people died. And because in the morning, as my grandma told me, she was 14, she was teenager. In the morning, when soldiers came, they say like, you have 15 minutes to pack up your clothes and go. And when you are in shock, some people even couldn't take anything. They didn't understand what is happening. That's why it's, and you have to understand also one thing. It's the war is still happened, and men's were fighted on the war, and in the Crimea were just old people, women's and children, and they were deported. And after 1 year, when these men come back to Crimea to find, and they didn't find their families. I mean, the country that they are fighting for deported their families. I think it's very painful, and I even can't imagine what these men felt at this moment when they understood what happened.
So have many people been able to come back?
It's also a very difficult question, because when Stalin died, a lot of nations had chance to come back. But the difference that Crimean Tatars didn't have this chance, because we didn't rehabilitate it. And when Stalin died, first Crimean Tatars tried to came to Crimea, but police and had made a lot of obstacles there to, and these people couldn't buy house or live there, and they were deported again and again. And that's why it's one of the page. It was a reason for another mm, way of history. Yes, it's our movement, national movement, and where Crimean Tatars, when Crimean Tatars make strikes in Moscow, different operations, and showed whole world that our human rights are. I have to, just a moment. I have to translate. I think I forgot this word. I'm sorry.
Speaking of dissidents and activists, should we mention Mustafa Cemilov figure?
Yes, of course, he was one of the frontmen of this movement, and I think if we speak about this, there are a lot of people. It was more the most active, yes, people. They start. It usually it was they were students, and they made different operations. I don't know. They made strikes. People catch money to send them in the Moscow, because they believe that they came back to Crimea. And if you even in the Google you try to find about Zemilov, another, you can find this photo from these strikes, and it wasn't also very easy. So a lot of people were in prison because of this, and they were captured, they were killed because of this, and it was also very difficult period. It wasn't a very easy way. Yes, that um, Stalin died and we came back. No, we fighted for this, and that's why it was. and the more in this process of returning started in the ending of the 1918s and in the beginning of the, I mean, it was some for 3 years maybe. It was the most the major part of Crimean Tatar came back. They I have to um, I have to I have to say one important thing also, that in Uzbekistan, for example, yes, they have career, they have houses, they have like life, yes, and they throw their everything, and when they hear that they can come back to home on the motherland, they uh, throw everything and they come back to Crimea. And in Crimea, there were also, it's my parents' generation. Yes, they had also a lot of obstacles and difficulties for living. Yes, because a lot of and because people who live there, I mean, since 1944, it's the most part of people who came from Russia who were like moved there from Russia from and they didn't wait us, you know. They were very rude, they were very aggressive, um, and they didn't understand what is happening, and that's why it was also very difficult process. As my parents say that they couldn't buy house, they couldn't have a job. It was very difficult, and they fight a lot of this. A lot of people with degree, yes, who I don't know who studied in Uzbekistan and have high degree education. They came to when they came to Crimea, they had to survive, and they go to the market and so because they have to find money how to live there and how to help their families, and that's why it's also a very big process. And because of this deportation, I want to explain you also it's very big gap for for development of nation. I i hope you understand what I mean. So when you, in because in deportation could we couldn't have a chance to develop our country, our language, our culture, mm, and other things. Yes, and
You just banned from your history there.
yes, yes, and that's why it's really very we lost a lot of tradition in this deportation. We lost a lot of lives in this deportation. For example, my grandma, she had nine siblings, and five of them were died. And when sometimes when I imagine that how many relatives could I have without this deportation, yes, it's really very painful. It's really very painful, and it makes me hard and angry in the same time.
It's so hard to imagine just thousands of people being taken from a place like Crimea to Siberia, the opposite type of environment as well.
Yeah, and my grandma never told us a lot of because of this morning of in and I think it was very hurtful for her, and she was a teenager. It's so difficult period, yes, for everyone. No, I mean you understand what I mean. And w- I, as I know, a lot of people her age who who were deported, they never liked to speak about this mourning or explain something because I think it makes them hurt. Sometimes she could say something, but without any details, you know. Yeah, and also in our family and in when I was a child, my grandma always say that 9th of May it's not our holiday. When in school, for example, we celebrated, yes, when I was a child, it was um, 20 years ago, she always said that it's not our holiday because the country that we fight it for deported us to another to camps, yes, to another part of world, and that's why yes, it's really very hard, painful page of our history.
What do you think of the film that made by Ahtem Samtaylayev, Haytarma?
It's one of the way maybe to understand that can help to understand yes the spirit of time, but I think we have to speak it more. And when I studied at school, in our history books, in our history lessons, we didn't speak about deportation of Crimean Tatars. And now I understand why. Yes, but I mean, for our new generation, we have to explain. We have more information now, and we have to explain this process. During three last centuries, Crimean Tatar history was really very difficult and very complicated. And we had a lot of genocides, so we had a lot of um, repressions, and like I think like whole worlds who nations who lived in empire or who was occupied. But I think we have to speak about this, we have to explain this, and if you know this history, I think um, it helps us to understand each other, why we are like this, yes, and why we have these values. And I think these stories, if you know, it's easier to break all stereotypes about each other, I think. I mean, it's also about Ukrainians, it's also about Crimean Tatars. And as I told you, we were very modern, progressive, with European values even 200 years ago. Because as I told you before, the first woman mm, who made movement about women's rights, she was Crimean Tatar girl. Yes, we understood even at this time that whole people are equal, and so we have to have equal rights, equal values, etc. But as I told you, yeah, we have like a phrase, history doesn't like, um, how to say this. I try to explain. Just a moment. Subjunctive mood, if it's correct. But I think this main idea what I understand, yes, um, when I learned and when I studied history, because a lot of sources was hidden even for Crimean Tatars also. We also recognize and understand our history in this period of time.
Well, we had other things on the list, like holidays, cuisine, songs. Maybe we could add some more uplifting aspects as well to the episode if we talked about some of those things.
Yes, if we speak about holidays, I think our religion influence on our holiday because of we are Muslims. We have two big holidays that whole Muslims in the world celebrate. It's just a moment. And it's Orza Bayram. We say it's when we are fasting and during 1 month, and then we broke our fast and we celebrate it. And also we have Kurban Bayram, but we have some maybe traditions that are not usual for whole Muslims in the world. For example, before of big holidays, yes, like we have two big holidays. Because of these big holidays, we usually fry some food. It has to be dough. It has to be something that made with dough. And so we share it with our neighbors, with our relatives. And I know that this tradition just in Crimean Tatar area. If we say about some, we also have some holidays but they are not religion. They
Actually, adding about Orza Bayram and Kurban Bayram, both of them became the state holidays in Ukraine. Like before 2014, they weren't, unfortunately, but now they are, and they are official holidays in Ukraine.
yes, and another holiday that are not very, you know, not very popular maybe. They came from paganism, and that's why, because of our religion, a lot of Crimean Tatars think that we can't celebrate these holidays, yes, because it's against our religion. Yeah, but we have some tradition where, as I told you, in the deportation, we lost a lot of traditions and a lot of things that connected with culture, songs, I don't know, some events, yes, but we have a lot of traditions and we try to return them, to study them, to it's tradition connected with weddings, yes, a tradition connected with baby births, tradition connected, I don't know, with different events. And when you read about this tradition, you understand how are they wise and how are they useful. That's why, yeah. But for us, it's also for my generation, Crimean Tatars, it's also interesting because we try to return these traditions. It's quite difficult in this period of time, but I hope that we will mm, we will return them and revive them, and we will keep them in the future, like our great grandparents, for example.
How about food? Tell us about some of your favorite Crimean foods.
I think the most important, the most famous Crimean Tatar food is chuberek. It's mm, it's you have to take ground meat with pepper, with salt, and put it in the dough, and you make it like in the um, half moon shape,
Yeah.
and you have to roast it, and it's very delicious. Also, we have another type of çöbürek. We say it's yantok. It's you have to cook it on the pan without oil. It's more healthy.
There's a joke on Twitter that there are only two genders, çöbürek and yantik.
Yeah. Also have to say that when we were deported and when we lived in Uzbekistan, a lot of dishes from Uzbek dishes, I mean, came to Crimean Tatar uh, kitchen too. For example, like plov. In Crimea, we also have our own plov, but it's sweet. You know, plov. Mm, Plov, it's rice so it's like porridge with rice and meat. Mm, but in if you say about Crimean plov, yes, I mean identical Crimean Tatar plov. Usually it's sweet and it's without meat, but with dried fruits, and that's why it's also very interesting. I know some scientists try to find identical Crimean Tatars food. It's also very difficult because for nowadays we have just some dishes that we cook every day, yes, and they are Crimean Tatars.
You mentioned sweet pillow, and I thought of Ukrainian holiday, some or not summer winter holiday dish kutya, the traditional one, and it resembles like kutya is made of wheat, and pillow is made of rice, so it's very alike.
Yes, but plov it's more similar to Spanish paella, and it's because of Spanish was influenced under influence of Ottoman Empire, if I'm not mistaken, and that's why we have some same traditions, some Spanish areas, and some because paella it's also rice but they cook it with seafood usually. But the way how we cook and how they cook, it's same. That's why it's also very interesting. I mean, plov, it's very famous and popular dish in the whole Turkic world. It's like um, cross-cultural dish, as I see. Also, in Crimean Tatar, it's my favorite dish. It's sarma. It's also meat that it mixed with rice, and you have to put it in the grape leaves and roll it. We also have jokes that sarma is Crimean Tatars sushi.
Or we have holubtsi in Ukrainian cuisine,
Yeah,
and it's very alike. Like you take cabbage for holubtsi, and you take grapes leaves for sarma.
we also cook sarma with cabbage leaves, and because the name sarma, it's from the verb. Just a moment. It's because of process. Mm, because sarmah, it means roll something. Yes, because of the roll when we cook it, that's why we call it sarma. also we have
Oh, you can name them rolls just like their rolls
yes,
in
yes, yes, yes.
sushi one rolls. Yeah.
We can also with the same feeling as dish dolma, but it's when we take pepper and fill it with this filling, and it's because of toldurma. It means fill, because we can't roll. Yes, this filling in the paper. We can just fill it, and that's why it's sounds like that.
We also have the same in Ukrainian cuisine. We just don't have a special name for it, just stuffed pepper. And that's it.
Yes, 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 yes. I mean, the name our dish. It's explain the process how to make it. Also, we have like meat pie or kubite.
Samsa?
Samsa, it came from Uzbekistan. Manты, samsa, it came from Uzbekistan.
Oh.
But we also cook it very often. You know, it's like meat with a puff pastry. That it's baked in the oven, and it's also very delicious. If we speak about our kitchen, as I told you before, we have three accents, yes, and three ethno groups, sub ethno groups of Crimean Tatars. If we say about Crimean Tatars who live in steppe, there was some difficulties with water, and that's why it was difficult to grow some vegetables or fruits, and that's why they have their kitchen is there are more of dishes with meat. Yes, if we speak about, for example, Crimean Tatars who lived near the coast of the sea, in their kitchen, a lot of foods that's a lot of baked fruits or baked vegetables, fish, yeah, and it's our, you know, our identical kitchen. It's was connected with area where we are live. Of course, now it's mixed everything because we have another reality. Yes. But if we say about a region, Crimean Tatar kitchen, yeah, it was connected more with area where do you live. I mean, what products do you have? How can you cook it? Yes, and that's why.
Shall we proceed to our words and sentences?
Yeah, that sounds good. Sounds good.
We usually do it this way. I write a word and a sentence in the chat, and Sandy tries to pronounce it. And the heading is try to pronounce that. And this time we both will be in this same position.
So if you can give us a word and a phrase that's not too difficult, we will try to learn how to pronounce it properly.
I think the most famous phrase that it's like greeting phrase. It's we say "Salam alaikum." I will. I sent in the chat. So "Salam alaikum" it means hello. Which phrase would you like to learn else? Maybe something that's interesting. Assalamu alaikum, it means hello. And if you say it anywhere, it doesn't matter. Turkey, I don't know, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, everyone understands you because it's same in the whole Turkic world.
Salam alaikum. Salam alaikum.
Yeah, it's great.
And I heard that Turkish more like to say merhaba, not mehaba, but merhaba.
Merhaba, yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
this and salam alaikum is very easy for me. Could you give me something more hard to pronounce?
Or, we have the also word with this sound, kozolchuk. It's berry that grows usually it's kizil, if you know.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Or we can say, for example, Qur'onda kozolchuk o'she. It means this berry grows in Crimea. Yeah.
So each time Sandy is in my position where I cannot she cannot pronounce it, and I'm not making
Okay.
fun. I'm trying to teach her, and I think this time you will teach me. Qirimda, Hazelchik, Oze.
Qirimda. I can't. Kizil. What's the middle word?
Hazelchik.
Hazelchik. Hazelchik. Oze.
Yeah.
Wow, it was hard.
Is there a word that's equivalent to the Ukrainian word balakun? Someone who talks a lot.
We have something like Gevizia, but I'm not sure is it correct to translate.
Geveze. Geveze.
Geveze.
Geveze.
Mm-hmm.
Chattering. Yeah. Google Translate says it means chattering. So is that about a person who talks, or is it just the
Yes.
Okay, it's about the person. Geveze. Geveze.
If we speak, for example, I also spoke about this with my mentor. If we speak about Crimean Tatar and Ukrainian language, we have a lot of similar words. For example, the one of my favorite examples, it's a word we have in Crimean Tatar, the word filjan. Filjan, it means a cup for coffee, because we drink coffee in the small cups. And in Ukrainian language, we also have the word filiżanka. They also use these words when they explain, when they describe small cup of for coffee usually. But you also maybe for wheat it will be interesting also. But in Crimean Tatar language, the word filjan came from Arabic language, because in Arabic fil it means like I try to explain you what, and you understand me. Just a moment. It's a handle of this cup. Did you understand? So fil in Arabic language, it's elephant, and in Crimean Tatars is also elephant. It's fil, but the handle of this cup, it looks like elephant's trunk, and that's why it's called filjan. I
Wow.
hope I explained you.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I always thought that this word came from Polish language.
No. It came from Turkish or Crimean Tatar language. I even think this from Crimean Tatar, because in Turkey they have another word. They say like bardak. I will bardak. It's like this one, and a lot of same words with Ukrainian language we have we have a lot of same words that connected with weapon and with some clothes. For example, kaftan. Yes, some names of some weapon also. It's and some ordinary things that we use every day.
Are you enjoying you working with your mentor?
Yes, yes, of course. It's very interesting that we can meet each other with our culture, with our life, um, and it's easier when you can speak with person who lives in this area. Yes, when you don't read it in some newspapers, articles, or etc., you can just communicate with people. And for Kim, she's also interested in our culture, and she sent me when she found something about Crimean Tatars. She also sent me. If you want, I can also send you some sources where, for example, Westerns can find some information about Crimean Tatars. If you want, I can also
Please,
send you.
yeah, I'd love that, because then we can put it in the description of the video, so that if people want to find out more, they can have a look.
Yes, and I'm very happy that now a lot of information we have with subtitles.
What's something that you wish more people understood, or people understood better about your culture, about your people?
I want to say one maybe more general thing, because now we live in a very difficult period of time when we have to recognize, yes, ourselves first of all, and in this for information war, it's also very difficult to choose which information is correct, which is not correct. We have a lot of stereotypes, and I wish just learn story and check your sources. And it's difficult, but we have to understand each other. We have to try to understand each other. And I think different podcasts, information, history just help us to maybe to describe or to imagine everything about each other. I think it's a good way to communicate with each other, not debate, yes, just communicate and try to understand each other.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's one of the most important things about our project, is it's making people have personal connections. So instead of reading about something that's going on in the news, you can talk about it with someone who actually lives there. And I think that makes it much more accurate. It means you're getting much more accurate information, and it affects you in a different way if you know the person. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Vitaly, do you have any final thoughts?
I just have 2 words and as a final. Sahol. Did I pronounce it correct?
Saho,
Sahol, not Sahol.
saho. It means be healthy. If we translate.
I thought it was thank you, as the form Saholinese. Saholinese is more for many people.
We use it in the meaning thank you, but if we translate it, it means be healthy.
Balakun, a bridge to Ukraine. Join the conversation at balakun.co.